What's good, YouTube? It's that fantasy guy, and I felt inspired to make a video, and I wanted to talk about James Robinson. James Robinson. So first, I'm going to talk about him as a prospect. As a prospect, I had James Robinson. I put down he was fast and he cuts well. That's pretty much it that I've seen on tape. And then he ended up running a 4.64. I ain't like that, you know. 5'9", 219, running a 4.64. Yeah, but it's something about them short, quick players. Them extremely quick players, like Clyde Edwards Eclair. Also, I had him ranked as my 21st ranked running back pre-draft. So I wasn't very high on him. But one thing he did have going for him, he fit my prototype model. He fit within the parameters of my model for a running back. So perfectly. And when you do that, hey, I'm willing to give you a chance. I'll give you the stamp of approval. And when you get an opportunity, I'm willing to get a chance. So I grabbed him everywhere in redraft. He's like on almost every single one of my teams. But in Dynasty, I was slow to grab him because I'd be slow to cut my players in Dynasty. Like, I'm not quick to cut a player I see potential in. And I gotta eat that. I have to eat that because I should have grabbed them, you know, and been able to use them or sell them or whatever I was gonna do with them. Now, I will say my physical model is determined by the NFL combines, by their NFL combine numbers. So if everyone don't do the drill, all the drills, it's hard for me to fit you perfectly in my prototype. There's only 3 running backs in the entire draft that fit perfectly into my prototype, that actually, with all the drills and their height and weight, fit perfectly in my prototypical model of a running back. And that's 1, Jonathan Taylor; 2, James Robinson; and then it was another guy called Brian Herron, and he might not even be playing in the league. He was he was signed by the Browns. He probably not even he could have got cut anyway. But so let's talk about James Robinson as far as redraft. When it comes to redraft, guess what? You hit the jackpot. You got probably the best waiver wire pickup of the year. The next person probably is Robert Tanya. That's how well he playing, especially if it's a tight end premium. But we talking about James Robinson. So James Robinson, best waiver wire pickup of the year in redraft and dynasty, and you got him for the cheap. You got him for the low. You got him for free. So guess what? You're starting them. You are starting them, definitely. If you haven't been starting them, you are crazy. What's wrong with you? James Robinson is currently 8th in points per game, and he's 6th in total points for running backs. So you hit the jackpot. And our only concern when it comes to James Robinson, because he's undrafted, if he was to get hurt and missed about 3 weeks, would he come back to a job? That is our only concern when it comes to James Robinson. Would he come back to the job? To me, you got to just try to ride it out, because even though he's short, he's stocky for his size. He has, 219. That's a nice amount of size for being 5'9". And it's not like he's one of these scat bats out here. So all we can do, I think, you just ride it out. See if he stay healthy through the year. Take that instead of trying to trade, for a more talented player that is doing less production. So now on a dynasty end, if you're on a dynasty end, you got to try to trade for a better asset. Like there is some people out here taking a trade of James Robinson for Mixon. You take Joe Mixon all day on that. If you find a fool in your league that would trade away Joe Mixon for James Robinson, you jump upon it. Now, as far as his trade value, as far as draft pick, I think it got to be at least a second. At least a second. Like, so, because next year you don't know if this man will have a job. They're most likely going to draft another running back, and you don't know if they're going to give him a fair shake and to be the starting running back. You can't, for one thing, it's not like Jaguars is like this a franchise you can have any faith in to do anything right. So we're not, when it comes to undrafted players, they don't really have nothing to stand on. It's like each season they gotta come, it's reset, until they get them a big contract, especially undrafted running backs. Like those are even more rare. To continue to keep their job. You see, even Philip Lindsay, they kept giving Freeman a chance. Even brought in Melvin Gordon. So I mean, that just is what it is, and you can't bank on Now, if you're a contender, I can see if you trying to ride out James Robinson. You're not gonna trade him for a draft pick because that's not gonna help you out. You could trade him, for a couple pieces or another player, to help your team out that's more stable, or you can ride it out. It is what it is, but we don't know if James Robinson is going to be a thing next year. So, it's better more so probably to get value from him, as much value as you can, whether you trading him or you're trying to ride him to a championship. At the end of the day, you got him for free, right? You got him off the waiver wire because not that many people drafted him, So I think he did catch some buzz at the end of the year in Dynasty, but I'm sure he was dropped in a lot of leagues, Some people still got him off the waiver wire in Dynasty. Anyway, I just wanted to have a quick conversation about James Robinson. I'm out.